This episode of the Free to Play Cast is sponsored by Albion Online. Albion Online's Queen update just went live on January 20th. Queen's the biggest content update since the game launched in 2017, and it brings a ton of new features, including a completely new Outlands continent, guild hideouts that can be placed in the open world, a new elite faction called the Avalonians, large-scale territory battles, and a huge list of quality of life improvements. Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I am your host, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. magicman, and this is episode 327. We're recording on January 30th, 2020. You're watching it on the 31st, and we've got a lot of rapid-fire news for you. A game that is following in its predecessor's footsteps, I guess, but not in a good way. I don't know. And we'll talk about our Legends of Runeterra review as we get to yours in the question of the week from last week. But joining me on this little adventure, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
I'm still getting by with my jury-rigged audio setup. Mike, you should get me like a new headset or something for my birthday.
New headset for your birthday? When's your birthday?
Technically about 30 minutes from now.
Really? Today is the day?
Yeah, today.
How did I not see this?
Because I've been kind of keeping it quiet. Didn't want to raise too much of a fuss, but yeah.
Well, happy birthday!
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Mine's in a couple of weeks, February 12th. So
when's my headset coming?
It's in the mail.
Okay.
It's in the mail. Also on the line, I don't think it's your birthday. How are you, Q?
No, my birthday's way down the line. I'm very dopey and tired because I had stuff done and I'm on meds. So
yeah, you had some dental work done, so you're all skied up, ready to go for this free to play cast.
Oh yeah! Instead of crawling into my nice warm bed and just staying there,
they were like, "Here's some cocaine." Q was like, "Perfect. All right, let's do the cast."
I'll be coughing, she'll be sniffling.
Right. All right, let's slide over, get started, gang, with the news. All right, first up today, we're going to go through a little bit of a rapid-fire round. I wanted to call it something different because it's some weird news. Like, all four of these, well, one of them's just pretty normal, and, you know, it's probably only on the show because I'm the host and I get to pick what's on the damn show. The other three are kind of weird little things, though, and I wanted to get everybody's take on them. So first off, we have the tactical card game Duelyst shutting down. Now, Jason, I remember back in the day when this launched and we were getting all types of press and stuff for this, you and I were really big fans of the art style. We thought it was very different from everything that was on the market at the time. It also had a different kind of gameplay look, although it was a card-based game. It also had, like, you know, real-time strategy elements, like moving the pieces on the board and things like this. We were generally pretty positive about this. Didn't know how long it would stick, but we were pretty positive. We enjoyed it. And apparently, it's not going to stick.
This is the answer. Now we know how long it's going to stick. The
yes.
answer is about 3.5 years, it looks like. So yeah, it's going to shut down. Let's see, when? It says February 27th.
Yep.
So a little over a month or a little under a month from now. Yeah, and they said saying goodbye to any game is never easy. It's always hardest when you love the game as much as we all love Duelyst. We're incredibly proud of the effort our developers have put in on Duelyst over the years. Even more proud of the amazing community of friends and gamers that have enjoyed Duelyst. So yeah, it's a bad week for card games in general, I guess.
Yeah, because we got news right before the show that Fable Fortune going away too.
That's going to go away in March 4th, I believe. So yeah.
Honestly, I'm kind of amazed Fable Fortune was still around.
Yeah, that one doesn't surprise me so much. Duelyst does surprise me a little bit because, like you said, it was pretty good. You know, early on, I'm looking at the Steam charts. It had like, you know, about 500 to 1,000 players. You know, it's on its average. You know, early on, first year or so, and it just kept going down and down and down, and just never quite recovered. Not in the double digits, peaking around 100 now. So
yeah. Q, I never like to put it like on the developers, like, hey, you know, besides it, you know, this is just a terrible game, no wonder it closed, which is not the case here. Mm-hmm. You know, then I put the onus on the developers. But this one I can't help but feel, and Jason and I were kind of talking about this earlier, we got so much from them like press-wise, and this is coming, and this update's coming, and this, and this, and this, and then just nothing. Like, we didn't get press or emails. Like, we would have to go for any Duelyst news, which, granted, wasn't all that much anyway over the last year and a half, 2 years. But any Duelyst news we did cover was we had to go and get it and find it. And honestly, Duelyst isn't part of, like, the daily rotation. As far as let's go check all the sites, look for news from all the big guys, and then start looking at the small stuff. I kind of feel like the developers could have maybe done a little more over the last 2 years to help their cause a bit here.
Well, I mean, it's, I guess one of those things, they might have decided that funding was better placed into development or whatever rather than marketing, I guess. But if you don't, it's just those things with these online games. If you aren't letting people know what's happening on a fairly regular basis, then everybody stops caring. I most of the time when you bring up like these games that are like this one where it's like, oh well, this one, and my first thought was, oh, that's still around. Like 99% of the time, and then it's like, oh, I guess it was still around. I never actually saw their closing thing. It's just that we haven't heard anything from them in eons, so I just assumed, you'll give me news to do, right? And we haven't seen anything in like several months, and I'm like, oh, this is a thing. Okay,
Yeah, and I'm not talking about, like, of course, Jason, it would help them out if they, spent money in advertising on websites or, YouTube ads or however they want to do it. Of course. But I'm talking, like, even just, like, their PR department just all of a sudden stopped sending stuff out to people. And it's not just us. I mean, there was nobody getting press releases on this game. So I just think they could have done a little bit rather than just keep slashing the price of everything on Steam and then all of a sudden closing down.
Yeah, I mean, just drop us an email every 3 or 4 months. It doesn't take, more than, 20 minutes of effort or whatever to send it out to your entire press list.
And you already have the press list. It's not like we never got anything from Duelyst. Everybody got stuff.
What you wonder sometimes is like if that's when they, because eventually they realize the money's not coming in, they got to cut costs. Maybe they let go of their marketing guy and he took the press list with him or something. So who knows?
I will tell you, and I'm not going to give names here, but that type of shit does happen.
Oh yeah, I know.
And I'll give you a little story for the viewers here on how I absolutely know. Like, it's easy for Jason and I and Q, who've been doing this for years, to say, yeah, that stuff happens. But I will give you a little story. There was an MMORPG that is still around that came out, and we're very excited. I was very excited about it from a collecting aspect. I don't even think I should give the name of the game. It's not even handled by the same marketing team anymore, so really wouldn't matter, but you might be able to backtrack some stuff. So anyway, the primary PR person for this game used to just send us the press releases all the time, and we'd run giveaways with them and all kinds of stuff. The usual thing we do for any company that emails us. All of a sudden, I needed some information on the game, and I hadn't heard from them in like a month or two, but there was something coming up, and I needed a few questions answered before I kind of lambasted them in an article I was writing. and so I emailed my contact to find out that he was no longer my contact. The company replied and said, they don't handle our marketing anymore. I thought, oh, that's a shame. I had a good relationship with this person. They handled a few different games. That kind of sucks. That's the downside, by the way, when all these games have one PR company and that contact that you have a good relationship with leaves, you just lost your contact with like 4 different games. Anyway, fast forward like 12 months later, I get an email from the person who was no longer representing them, was in an entirely different company, had a new slate of games, and just out of nowhere sends me this email. And I said, oh, I'm amazed you remembered my email address. I knew what had happened, but I said, oh, I'm amazed you remember my email address. Instead of replying, oh, like the typical PR thing, oh, how could I forget your email address? I used to send you stuff all the time. Flatter, flatter, flatter. He was like, oh, no, when I left, I ripped my email list. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, thanks for putting that in writing. So, yeah, it definitely does happen. Anyway, back to topic. guys, market your games, even if it's just sending emails to all the sites. Particularly when you're smaller, it's very hard for staffs to keep up with all of your smaller titles. Speaking of funding, Dauntless developer Phoenix Labs has been acquired by a Singapore developer and publisher. Now, Jason, if you had told me Tencent, I probably wouldn't have blinked.
Oh my God, this is something that isn't owned by Tencent. How is it possible?
Right, I probably...
maybe. I have to look at the company and see if they...
Yeah, there might be a sub.
I was just about to say the same thing. They could be a subsidiary of Tencent. We don't know if they are. Jason, maybe you could look it up, whatever. I've never heard of this company, actually, and I know why reading the article, but Garena, is based...
They say it's short for Global Arena, so I'll say Garena.
Garena, then. Based out of Singapore. They've been a publishing partner for games that you have heard of, even though you've never heard of this company. Firefall, maybe you haven't heard of that. I mean...
especially not if you watch this show.
Right.
Speaking of games you collected.
Right. Not Firefall. I didn't collect Firefall.
Oh, no, you're right. I'm thinking of... Yeah, never mind.
You're thinking WildStar.
Yeah.
Heroes of New Earth. Very popular game. League was worried about it when they were coming out. Path of Exile, Blade and Soul. These are, but they publish them in Southeast Asia and Taiwan. So although you've heard of the games, you probably have not heard of this company, particularly if you're in the West.
But on their site, they did publish League as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
They have a huge mobile game. And that's immediately why I was like, now I don't know about them. I'm not a huge mobile gamer, and we don't cover mobile games, called Free Fire, and that thing's grossed over $1 billion in revenue. So it's got to be doing well. But now they've picked up Phoenix Labs, Jason.
Yeah. So you've got a company that basically, I didn't get a whole lot of insight into why they did it, but Jesse Houston said they did it because they want to get into these new areas, new parts of the world, mobile, that sort of thing. So... yeah, it seems to be like a pretty good investment all around. Helps Phoenix Labs get more of that sort of stuff, and it helps Garena develop and get a bit of more of a presence maybe in North America and other regions.
Yeah, and this is not just a publishing deal. This is a full acquisition.
Yeah.
Of Phoenix Labs. Of course, as Jason just referenced, Dauntless, the team at Dauntless. Excuse me. What is it, Jesse Houston? Mm-hmm. Jesse Houston comes out and said all the usual things, right? You know, we didn't need to sell. We were looking at this, bankrolling our future growth. The teams are going to stay the same. They're probably going to leave us alone, and that he's going to stay. He's going to stay. I want to retire here. And that's actually true. So, of course, we heard all the usual things. But do you think that's the case here, or are we going to be seeing some changes in Phoenix Labs soon?
This is one of those things for, like, Jason would probably be a little bit better because he follows all, the weird money stuff and everything, and I don't. I have no clue 99% of the time what's going on business-wise with most of these
I just make shit up.
Well, you actually look at the stats and the quarterly reports and stuff like that, and I don't, because I just look at that and go, oh, numbers. But I mean, based on what usually happens with other games, I think it'll carry on for a while, right? Like, because that's what happens. They're like, okay, yeah, these people bought us, but everything will be fine. It'll be just like what you're used to, yada yada, and you carry on for a while. And then things change. So it's not entirely a lie. It's just eventually a lie at some point.
It's a long-standing turns into a lie over time.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things. And I mean, they may not even intend for it to be, but when you're bought by another company, it's just the thing that happens sooner or later. Right? Like it can take a really long time. Blizzard being a good example, but eventually things will change. It's to fit the new owners. So, I mean, it may hold out for a few years, but I would expect it to change at some point.
All right, so Jason, this is according to Wikipedia, so grains of salt, right? In May 2017, the holding company of Garena Group was renamed to Sea Limited. However, Garena was retained as a brand name. Sea Limited filed for an initial public offering on the New York Stock Exchange in October 2017. The company aimed to raise $1 billion US. Before the IPO, the initial public offering, Tencent is the major shareholder of Sea Limited for 39.7% of the shares. It's followed by Blue Dolphin Venture, established by Garena's founder, Forrest Lee, for 15%, and then Lee personally owns 20%, and Chief Technology Officer Gang Ye 10%. So
There you go.
There it is.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that before. All right.
Oh my god. So now Tencent owns a company that owns Dauntless.
Owns 40% of the company that owns the company that owns Phoenix Labs. There you go.
Oh, surprise, surprise. Nope, not at all. Moving on. Destiny had a little bit of an issue with their last update. 2.7.1 launched this week. Yesterday, in fact. But a few hours after that, things weren't going too well, Mr. Winter.
Yeah, people were apparently losing currency as they were playing the game, which, of course, is not good at all. So they brought the whole thing down and tried to fix it and took like 7 or 8 hours to do so.
All right, so that's not a huge deal, right? That stuff happens. You put out a patch, there's a huge flaw in it that escaped testing. You don't like to see that, you don't want to see that, but it happens, Q. They take the damn thing down for a little while. It's down for 8 or 9 hours and they fix it, right? So everybody was happy, right? That's the only thing that happened. They got everybody got their currency back, and that was cool. Now you can only play for like 2 or 3 hours, but you can make some substantial progress in 2 to 3 hours in Destiny. But everything was copacetic, right? nothing else happened.
Other than the 2 lost hours.
Oh,
progress?
wait, why'd they lose it?
Well, Jason could probably explain it better.
I can explain everything better.
Yeah, today you probably
You need to understand the meaning of life.
No, I got that.
What happened to the 2 to 3 hours? If I played, then they took it.
They rolled it back.
Oh shit! See, it wasn't that hard, Q. I was like feeding you the line.
My brain is so gone at this point, dude. I'm telling you, I don't know what these meds are doing to me, but I stared at an email that you gave me for hours this morning trying to figure out what was going on.
I mean, Q, is there something you want to talk about? I mean, we don't have to talk about Destiny. Is there something you want to talk about? Like, is there a kitty walking around that isn't actually there? You're just seeing it.
No,
Come on, Q, tell us the truth. I mean, the truth.
So
just
yeah,
fuzzy. I'm just fuzzy, guys. I'm not hallucinating.
So there was a rollback, only 2 or 3 hours rollback, not too bad. But like I said, you can get some substantial things done in Destiny depending on what you're doing in 2 to 3 hours, particularly progress on things like your weeklies, and that could be a bit of a pain in the butt. And of course, the internet was not happy, including people that had that day off.
Oh, that one guy.
That Destiny did it on purpose, Jason.
Yeah. What did you say? And just like that, the one day I get off a month from the site and you take the servers down. This happens way too much. It's like you purposely target me. I work 11 hours a day and I have to spend my time with my family. So this is my only chance. We deserve an emblem for this. I think your family should take a back seat to your Destiny 2 playing.
I mean, you do gotta feel though, like if the dude literally has a job that you only have one day off a month, and you're like, oh, finally I get 24 hours to chill, play my game, and it's down.
He works 11 hours a day. So does he work for Bungie?
No, he would have had that day off.
11 hours a day, 29 days a month.
No, he would, if he was on the tech team or the server team, whatever, he wouldn't have.
Right?
So,
Yeah, that's why he's like, you purposely target me. I'm in your IT department. They're like, oh, Jimmy's off. Bring him in. Bring him in.
That would make the most sense.
Last thing in the rapid fire round, Phantasy Star Online 2 closed beta. The closed beta that every time Jason wrote it up was like, maybe it'll happen soon, sometime, maybe. It's happening, baby. Next weekend, February 7th through the 8th. It's a very short closed beta on the Xbox One only. There'll be different in-game events. There's going to be English translations and the option, if you don't want the voiceover in English, which they have done all of that too, including in-game concerts. So there's some of those songs that I would like to hear the English version at least. I'll probably flip back to the Japanese version, but I'll listen to the English versions at least once. All kinds of cool rewards. And here's the cool thing, Jason, and I kind of, like, I thought, oh, that's a unique, and then I kind of was like, oh, well, wait a minute. This game has been out for 7 years now. Yeah, I can see why they're doing this. Closed beta, when it goes into open beta and then into launch, all of us closed beta players will retain all of our progress. No wipe, even between closed and open beta. So, cool little snazzy feature. I will be preloading on February 3rd. And playing it that next weekend. I'm not going to do a first look on the closed beta. It's a very tight timeline. It's only open for a few hours for a few days, and there's events at specific times that I got to go do to get that Dreamcast mag. But look for a first look. I think we're getting close. Jason, this has got to be like right around the corner, right? Spring 2020. That starts in March.
No, if they're going to cancel it, another 7 years.
Oh my God.
But I will speak though to the whole notion of closed beta progress carrying over. Well, that's cool for the people who are playing it. Kind of stinks for people who can't get in until until later, because now it's like, oh, these other people are going to be ahead of me. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I would agree with you if it was a more substantial closed beta.
I guess if it's only for a day, I guess it's almost like your early access period or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a 2-day closed beta. So
sure.
And yeah, we're going to get some boosts and things for XP, but it's not a ton of progress. That and the way you do things in Phantasy Star Online really doesn't matter anyway, but that's okay. So I'm looking forward to it. I will be sitting in front of my Xbox One X playing some Phantasy Star Online 2 with English voiceover this coming weekend. Very happy. Moving on. Hey, Q, remember when Torchlight 1 was originally advertised to be a free-to-play MMORPG, and then a while later, all of a sudden, Torchlight 1 was just a single-player ARPG? You remember that, right?
So that's not entirely correct. Torchlight was supposed to be an MMO, and at the same time, they put out Torchlight 1, and the other Torchlight was still supposed to happen. And then just didn't.
And then Torchlight 2 came, though.
Yes, Torchlight 2 came.
But that one was never, revealed as like an MMO or anything. It was just a sequel to Torchlight 1.
Right.
But people still asked, hey, where the hell's the Torchlight MMO then?
And then finally
we got Torchlight Frontiers. So, okay, sweet. They're finally doing what they said they were going to be doing. But that all changed this past week. What the hell is going on, Q?
Well, I almost wonder if they had this planned ahead of time.
They couldn't have.
I think they've had like 12 different plans so far, I think.
But basically, Torchlight Frontiers is now Torchlight 3, and even though we were already in alpha for Torchlight Frontiers, they're starting alpha for Torchlight 3, but I think everybody gets to carry over. Basically, yeah, they're just. I guess they just couldn't do the whole MMO thing. I don't know.
So, Jason, we have to look here because do I already have this prediction locked up because now it's in a different category? Or, it's not free-to-play anymore. It's going to be buy-to-play. It's going to be on Steam. It's going to be, it's single-player ARPG in the vein of Torchlight 1, Torchlight 2, more of what fans expected in those types of games. Now, we do have that prediction running of Magic the Gathering Arena. We'll see some sort
Magic
of...
Legends.
I'm sorry, yeah, you're right. Magic Legends will see open beta before Torchlight. Now, does this count anymore? Yeah, because it's not Frontiers anymore. Do I automatically win this one?
I would rule this as still being the same game in the sense that for the purpose of the prediction. So now the race is
we still
Magic
have
Legends
to watch.
Torchlight 3.
Okay, so we still have to watch.
Yes.
When Q, I think he's just trying to shank the points out of here for me.
Dude, because it's not entirely the same game anymore, though, right? Because it's no longer
Right. That's
An
my argument.
MMO,
That's my argument.
it's
Is
single player and it's
Yeah.
buy to play. So
Exactly.
is it technically?
We might have to open this up to the viewers. Might have to do a poll on the site or
Yeah,
something.
because my thing is, at this point, Magic Legends will 100% open before Torchlight Frontiers does. Undoubtedly, it will open. Those of you that were in the beta or the alpha for Torchlight Frontiers, by the way, they are going to be doing a alpha again for Torchlight 3 with all the changes that they made. If you were in, and we covered this on the site, even though it's not going to be free to play anymore because this does apply to free to play players. If you were in the Torchlight Frontiers alpha, you will be invited to the Torchlight 3 closed alpha. And you can check out the mmobomb.com for details on that if you want to participate. Jason, I can't say that I'm all that surprised here. I've been very vocal about what I didn't like about the game when we got access to it, some of the challenges that I thought, and ultimately, although I thought the leveling in each zone had a certain, or was a certain feature that they could capitalize on or maybe make interesting, I was bored by it. And so the game wasn't fun for me. And I think, obviously, that has a lot to do with why this type of change is being made.
It's still a little surprising to me just that they would completely, restart from scratch on it. I expected, for as long as they've been taking, and for as much as they said they've been talking about, player feedback and trying to incorporate all that, I certainly expected some changes, and I expected it to take a while, because that's why I did that whole prediction thing, thinking that even though we've heard about it for a couple of years, it's still going to be a while before we get to it. So I am still a little surprised that they completely, buried it from the ground up and are reworking it.
They ripped out the horizontal progression, like all of that stuff.
And it's going to be on Steam, which is also kind of an interesting thing. I think they said exclusively on Steam as opposed to on Arc System, Perfect World's thing, which I should note, by the way. I clicked on the link, and hey, it works. Steam is up again.
Yeah, it is.
Do we have any word what happened?
I haven't looked. I'll check after the cast, but no.
So, Torchlight 3, keep an eye out. Let us know what you think on the prediction. I think I've just locked in 1 point, personally. I think Jason's just
we'll have an official... You can say something in the comments if you want, but I'm going to do actual official polls so we can count it up and everything, so...
Last up, before we go over to the weekly bombs or anything, we asked you last week on the question of the week to give us your review of Legends of Runeterra, since it was coming out after the free-to-play cast aired, and Riot Games did in fact make the S now official at the end of Riot Games with the open beta launch of Legends of Runeterra, the card game. Right now it's just on PC. When it actually launches, it will be available on mobile as well. And we spent quite a bit of time with it. I did a first look that's about 40 minutes or so, played a couple matches against AI, played a couple PvP matches. I'm still playing it, so I guess that says something right away. But Q, let's start with you. I know you're not a huge card game fan, but what do you think of Legends of Runeterra?
Well, it's not even so much that I'm not, like, I do enjoy card games. So it's something that I might dabble with. The more, like, I guess, deciding factor is that I'm not a really big League fan, right? I'm not invested in that whole League thing.
Right.
And so as far as like being attracted to the mythos, the characters, whatever, none of that is there for me. That might draw me into it. But as far as like a general, just like, hey, I'll check it out because it's, it's a card game. It's something that's on mobile that I can tool around with or whatever. I might do it, but it would only be super casual.
Jason.
I'm still working through like the PvE kind of intro stuff. I haven't actually played a match against another person yet, but I do kind of like it. I'm surprised actually that I did. I went in thinking, because I've let's face it, I've had to preview a lot of mediocre card games for this site. So I went in with this one and was like, well, I'll play it, but we'll see if I think of it. And I still want to play it. I still want to get through the intro stuff. There have been some games where I haven't really wanted to get past the intro stuff. I haven't really cared that much. It's interesting. It's taken me a little while to get used to the whole like battle within a turn kind of thing, and the whole initiative or whatever it is you have.
Yeah, I've said this to some friends in real life who are playing it. Excuse me. When we play Final Fantasy card game, it's like I'm still, even after all these matches, there's still oddball things where I am in my brain. I'm gonna get priority before X happens, and I don't. Like, all of a sudden, just boop, boop, does the thing, and I'm like, ah, shit, I thought there was a priority swing in there, that I was going to get the chance to throw a spell on there or whatever, but I missed it in the window before. So, yeah, I agree with you. There are some moments where I'm like, this doesn't... okay, that's when I have to respond. I can't do it here.
Yeah, that makes me a little frightened, because when I do play against a person, I know I'm going to screw that up at least once. I've screwed it up once playing against the AI. So I know it's going to be even worse when I go against a person.
I screwed it up against a person already too, where they had like 5. Their Nexus had like 5 hit points left, and I had 2 units out, one with 6 power and one with 2 power. And on the end of their turn, when they had the attacking icon, they bounced one of their own units back to their hand to get some other effect, and they only had 2 cards in hand, and I knew what both of them were: the unit that they had just returned and the item that they had got because they returned that character. And immediately I was like, okay, let me throw one more character out, and then, I'll go to my attack phase. But immediately, what I should have done is just go straight to attack, because if I go straight to attack, I win the game. Because he can't play that unit in his hand in response to my attack. But because I played a unit, it gave him the opportunity to play the unit, and then he was able to deflect the attack, and he ended up winning the game. But so that, yeah, you really, really have to think about when you're going to do things. And do you have a main phase 1 even, or do you just go straight to combat? The windows aren't the same if you're a Magic player, a Final Fantasy TCG player, a Yu-Gi-Oh player. They're similar. It's using a stack and a chain, kind of. Like you can stack abilities or spells all in a chain, and they resolve in the opposite order, but you can't interact with that. It's not a stack in that case. Once it starts resolving, it resolves all the way down. You can't throw something else on there. So there are some priority things that you absolutely have to get used to that are a little different in this one. But I think more importantly, Jason, I want to get your take on monetization, because this was a big deal coming into Legends of Runeterra and Riot, everything they had to say. You're not going to buy card packs. You're not going to buy random booster packs and things like that. We want to limit how fast you can acquire a set when it comes out, so that you do have a chance to play and the meta has a chance to morph, rather than here's the set, here's the 5 meta decks, build them or bust. The monetization here, playing through the prologue and then playing through each of the regions, you're going to unlock chests and whatnot that give you random cards or give you shards if you have those cards. You can then create any cards you want with those shards as long as you have enough shards to do it. That's fine. From a monetization cash standpoint, all the game lets you do is throw some cash at it. You could buy a starter pack. That does have some cards in it. But it details what cards are there right off the bat. You have cosmetic creatures that you can, your little buddy that sits on your board. You can buy cosmetic backgrounds to get a different board rather than just Summoner's Rift. But then really the only other thing you could buy are wild cards. And so you can buy common wild cards, rare wild cards, champion wild cards, and they unlock one version of the corresponding rarity. Where they put the limitation into this is that you can't just go buy as many wild cards as you want. There are 6 rares, 6 commons, 3 epics, and 3 champions that are available for purchase per week. So even if you toss $200 at the game, Jason, you aren't getting any more than those 12 wild cards per week. So I don't know. How do you feel about this? I certainly wouldn't call it pay to win. It's absolutely not pay to win. Yeah, you could pay and get a couple of cards per week a little faster, right, than saving up the shards, but you cannot just throw $200 down and own 3 copies of every card across the board to make whatever deck you want. You can't do it here, and there's not a random element to the cards you're going to get besides the strictly earning cards in gameplay and opening those boxes. Those do have a random element, but you can't buy those boxes. You only get those through gameplay. All in all, I kind of dig it, but I am worried about it from a monetization standpoint on does it make money?
Yeah. Now, something Hearthstone has been having issues with is that they've noticed that, you say, yeah, you can't get a, buy it all up in 1 week or whatever. But over the, Hearthstone's been out like 6-7 years or whatever. So Now a new player goes into that and he can immediately get smashed by a guy who has $8,000 worth of cards. It might be the same way with Legends of Runeterra. After 6 months or a year, whatever, if you're new coming in, someone else is going to have tons of cards because he's been spending every week to get them or playing or whatever. So it can still be a concern on that level. In terms of how much money they're going to make, I remember an article I did a while back about, I think it was League of Legends actually, in some region where they did limit you to like $250 per month, I think it was, that you could spend on it. And apparently the game just tanked. You're right, it did not make enough money. So they shut it down or something or other. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they can maintain that, and especially if they keep it going for a long period of time, if it's going to work for them and if it's going to be something they can maintain for years to come, or if they wind up introducing some other thing, season passes or some other kind of ways to make additional money.
Yeah, it's already got ranked play. It's already got just standard PvP. It's got AI. It's got a draft mode. They call it Expedition. It's got a friends list that you can. I know, right? That you can.
We'll never stop making fun of Magic the Gathering Arena for that.
Somebody commented when I made that comment on a previous show. They were like, "It has a friends list now," and I was like, "I know." The joke was that it didn't forever, which was dumb. But all in all, it runs really smooth. There are a ton of keywords. So you'll be mousing over keywords to remember what they do. I do like
the thing that worries me about playing against another person. I'm going to spend half my time figuring that out.
I do like the nice little touch that if a card references like 2 or 3 other cards in its text, that when you look at the zoomed in view, the other cards referenced are right there. It's just I gotta say, yeah, League of Legends doesn't do anything for me. There are a lot of nods in the game if you're a League of Legends fan to certain abilities and certain champions and heroes and stuff. That's great. League of Legends fans are probably eating that up. It really doesn't matter to me. It's the same thing with Final Fantasy card game. You don't have to even know what the hell Final Fantasy is to enjoy the card game, but if you do know a lot about Final Fantasy, there's some cool nods in the cards and the abilities and stuff like that. Does it help the whole monetization thing that it is League of Legends, Q? I mean, it is a big IP with bajillions of players already playing League of Legends that are probably at least trying Runeterra.
Yeah, I would think so. And I mean, I don't know what the shift ratio is between mobile players and CCG players, but
Right.
considering they're both kind of competitive game types, that it might actually be pretty decent. So it could end up doing pretty well for them in that way. And as far as the rest of it goes, right, they have all these other little things that they're doing now that bring out more of the story and everything in their, I guess, pay to play area of games. So I think it's something that they'll probably do fairly well with in the long run.
How did the last big name MOBA they tried to make a CCG do?
What was it?
Oh, Artifact.
Oh.
Yeah, but they hosed that one from the beginning. I gotta give credit
introduction.
Right. I gotta give credit where due. It's like Riot seems to be doing everything right here. Mm-hmm. If they screw it up, they only have themselves to blame right now. But all in all, Jason, I'm with you. I'm kind of concerned about, excuse me, where does this go in the future? Like, do they make enough money with this type of model? I know they want to release smaller card sets more frequently than, like holding back 6 months and putting, 150 cards into a set and blasting it out. So it feels like it's being developed by card players for card players. And guess what? They've come out and said long ago that that's exactly what they were doing. And at that time, it was like, yeah, okay, we'll believe it when we see it. Now I've seen it, and I do believe that is the intent that they're taking with it, and I got to give it a thumbs up for right now. I'm still playing it a week after the first look, still trying to make sure I get my weeklies done so that I can get my diamond chests at the end of the week, because every week there's the daily quests and a weekly chest reward. I am enjoying it. And I'm enjoying building decks and messing around with them, Jason. I'm going to give this one a thumbs up from me. What about you?
You believe it, but you don't believe it. That's the way to go. Yeah, I'll give it a thumbs up. I'm still getting through the tutorial stuff, and I tend to do that and eventually try to play against actual people. So we'll see how it goes.
Cute.
I haven't played it, so I'm just gonna not make a judgment on it until I actually try it out.
All right. So 2 thumbs up and 1 no vote. We might as well be the United States Senate. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. Where the hell's my bump? Oh, there it is. Hey, found it. I'm going to give my bomb first. I'm going to give a dub bomb to Blitzchung. Yeah, from the Hearthstone China debacle from Blizzard Entertainment. In an interview, got to give props to the guy. He said, even if I had a chance to go back, I would still do it. Sometimes it's a must-do thing. I couldn't have said it any better myself. Dub bomb to Blitzchung. Go ahead, Jason.
I'm just going to give a dub bomb to myself for surviving another year.
It is the birthday.
Despite the knee being weird and the back every now and then and the plague I had a couple weeks ago, other than that, I survived. So that's worthy of a dub bomb, I think.
365 days. You made it, brother. Dub bomb. Go ahead, Q.
I'm going to give an A-bomb to prescription meds with really weird-ass instructions on them that scare the crap out of you.
Dude, you can't give an A-bomb to something that's had you going, yeah, you should probably ask Jason.
No, well, I'm pretty sure the antibiotics aren't the ones that are doing that. The antibiotics are the ones that are like, don't lay down for 10 minutes after you take this. Why? Why not? Why can't they go lay down?
Q just said she's going to drink before every cast.
Remember back when the drifting thing.
The drifting
that,
thing.
Mike? Drifting. Drunk.
Oh,
drifting.
yes. Yes.
Drifting.
Yeah, where we were gonna do live streams where we were just getting drunk playing drifting. Yeah. That show should have come to fruition.
It would have been the best.
Yeah, no, because we were playing Rift, so it probably wouldn't have been. Like, the 8 people that watched it would have loved it.
What year was this? What year did you play?
It was back at Game Breaker.
Back then, Rift was still kind of popular.
And, I mean, we had Derpy Cat going on behind us most of the time, so...
From the viewers, Misfit Rain says, do I see Marvel Heroes? I mean, DC Heroes coming out. Talking about Daybreak's DCUO being offshot to that one company, and they're also working on something else. I'm in! Give me a Harley Quinn character and let me zoom in. A-bomb to Gamigo. The 2nd season Battle Pass ended in Rift. No 3rd season started. No one knows anything about it either. So it's not looking good for Rift if they stopped putting out the only cash grab thing that they were actually doing for the game. Raggy. I can't do Scooby-Doo. That was close. I did it all right. You knew what I was trying to do. Hey, Q, we might even take a look at that. I did not know that there was no 3rd season pass announced.
Do we know anything about Rift anymore?
Right. Let's look into it tomorrow and see if there's our contacts know anything. I'll send an email tomorrow. Jason.
Jay Perkins, a.k.a. Pie R Round, saying, "Dub bomb to Zach Sharps for reading my screen name exactly the way I expected. What a classic moment, and what a way to mark the return. That absolutely made my day."
That was so great last week. I mean, that could not have been... Like, we couldn't have scripted that any better than it happened. Fantastic. Go ahead, Q.
Okay, apparently there was a glitch because he just went silent for a minute.
On me. Oh, yeah. I just said, go ahead, Q.
KO, I told you need young blood, even one with no legs.
Yeah, welcoming back Zach Sharps last week. It was good to have him back. Sax Fritanga says, on the topic of Funcom, if they're developing a Dune-based game, that could really be a valuable IP soon, since there is a massive reboot of the Dune film series coming out soon. Yeah, we did mention that too. Sax, I think you're absolutely right. By the way, on this topic, they released the logo for the Dune movie today. Did you guys see that?
No, I did not see that.
It was very, very cool.
I saw that and then saw somebody else say it was fake. So
I hope it's not fake because that looked really cool.
Well, I didn't bother to look any deeper into it, so they could have just been talking out of their ass. But just to let you know, there's been some of Twitter saying it's fake. So
Yeah, that's all.
Dune remake logo reveal. This is a link off IMDb, so
okay.
this seems to be legit. So
I thought it was cool. So, you know, they just had
with the dunk.
Four U's in different
Directions.
It was very cool. I hope that's true. Question of the week last week. Give us your review of Legends of Runeterra since open beta starts Friday. D. Draken says, I'm loving Legends of Runeterra. It's a mix of Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone, which is just great. Loving the animations, artwork, and sounds. That's one thing we didn't talk about was the animations. I love them too. They're very, especially when your champions level up. They're very, very cool. Go ahead, Jason.
Kane Harris says, second that. Always wanted to play at CCG, but didn't want to drop a small fortune to play competitively.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the flip side of not needing, $1,000 right out of the gate to be competitive. The fact that people like that are going to... But again, 6 months to a year down the road, if you're a new guy coming in and someone else has, thousands of dollars worth of cards they've been spending every week, how do you feel? It's still the same. So.
Yep. It's definitely one we'll have to watch. Q, finish it up.
Bregner Catalan looks decent, but it's a little late to the CCG scene. Plus, it seems something League of Legends players might enjoy, which means all those toxic players might be your opponents. Yeah, no thanks.
And that is why you can't talk in the game.
Yeah, well, that
you got your couple of emotes. That's it.
Another aspect of it that I always used to say too is, when you have to play something like League or any team-based game, any sort of team-based shooter. If you screw up, you're screwing up with all the other 5 or whatever players in your team. Here, at least when you screw up, it's only you just being screwed.
Yeah,
so you're not going to people yelling at you.
It was just me taking a loss from not going directly to my combat phase.
Not using the meta.
Right. Question of the week this week. Are you more or less likely to play Torchlight 3 now that it's shifted gears all the way back to its roots as a single-player ARPG and pick up a buy-to-play price tag? Let us know if you're more or less likely to play it and why in the comments below. Until next week, Q, where can everybody find you?
Goofing around on Twitter at Quinlan.
Jason?
On Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally on Twitter right there at magicman1, but more importantly, while you're there, follow at MMOBum so we can send you all the latest news, articles, giveaways, first look videos, free-to-play cast, free-to-play weekly, and so much more right to your Twitter feed. Until next week, gang, stay safe, and we'll see you on the servers.